I think we're ready.
We're ready.
Okay. Now we're ready. Okay. Part 1 is nuclear exploitation and violence. Nuclear power exploits minority workers forced by economic necessity to early death by extreme for tribes, while black workers are prone to die victims because they are allowed to receive high degrees of justice 50 times higher than the public only low. So segregated people like black at the same time, for African children descendants face high radiation and do death rack receive a $351,000 per year high radiation work they do full time and public compensation or unit representation, health benefits, and culture. They are socially shown forced by economic necessity to other jobs in the hidden world of nuclear power reactors or emit radiation to disadvantaged communities whose residents are too poor to live anywhere else. They also lack the means to evacuate when disasters occur. That straight for Chad 12 Japanese people are among the hardest hit because Japanese before inadequate for disasters and have no medical care transportation because hoping the time of the reactors makes it worse. Space exposed likely because they're resident for nuclear evacuate we're living in the reactors have no option to be provided. No one's asking the radiation things out there because of the benefits. Well, they put the price of receiving their shell extension ever since the market policy arguing for the unaccepted factors in the force of voluntary being increased by the poverty of nuclear power, construction money, and its carbon dioxide poisoning, the environment that's all cool and stuff and not carbon neutral. The cycle has been for 80, 40, 102 grand for answer the mining structure, the condition around half the natural gas emission leak, nuclear power, the worst against the greater gas is much more energy dense by 20, 50 nuclear power generates as much as gas fired power station. This results in climate change, which disproportionately hurts marginalized groups. That's Komomo. All of the disaster intensifying social political bodies, most people speak about the disasters are Jefferson side power behind and this outweighs addressing the structural harms of climate change requires no longer thinking of it as a one-time event that's fixed. A little bit of gas frequency is that that's speaking to the Asian bioside climate change and other environmental passions for that formidable out representing obstacles such as the price of rate come back comes the next some about bias and event most of the mindset exponential often survivals have yields with the comments with the initial seeing life from scratch. Nuclear energy contaminates surrounding water. Maintenance workers are exposed to severe radiation levels as coercive nuclear waste is released to the coolant system that's caused insects radioactive active consequences they made back from the severe house medium water circuit and it's actually been said to be radioactive some someone with the regulator for near-extracted about 4,000 gallons of harmful body tested with these rather than baseball some things are nothing. And a matter of the literature indicates that PTSD and mental stress rates increase as a result of the Fukushima disaster. That's wrong at all. Team review can have mental health with father GHG and this was a deeply accident that was the dependency depression anxiety this would be with mental health based rate treatment said to be back to the course of mental health and treatment for mentally ill face social stigma in Japan that's in all 13 or Japan also has multiple round before men club experts with the mental institute sure you create social discrimination with mental illness. Part 2 is the advocacy. The national government of Japan should ban the production of nuclear power that's CCE. Their team with the small comes from the Japanese college management and the economic private gender which is inside the Part 3 is Salty 19 reactors will be operational in Japan by 2018 by zero predictions. That's WN 728. So reactor factory operation. I next mark. That's 12 years later. 20 current by 1979 starting at next year start by 2020 following the case here. We're only 1 unit to start. Japan is meeting emissions requirements shifting from coal towards renewables and flooded. 6. 17 power. Increasing positive possibly competition workers being involved in Christian carbon country. Also Japan's after the large solar power use in the world. In Japan, business always pushing for renewables, no long-term shift to coal, have legalized any imports. That's Brown 622. Japan must not join the next round side. Western Germany start Canada sourcing funding saying exactly the chances of Japan will develop the new practices more from Japan. Said that Japan will become about not adequate to renewable powers for long-term ocean common pressures to increase private investment for renewable energy power expanding for the asteroid for something wants to do. This must be important. Nuclear power cannot solve for you require one reactor a week for 52 years. That's Caldecott. The problem is must be having the economy contain constant development as being against having to do something those stuff that not building nuclear power places. We made it program the next 2,000, 3,000 nuclear power plants considering the 18 years needs to check new reactor finance strategy, doing full session enterprise not viable. Part 4 is the framework. The standard is mitigating structural lines. What structural lines space more exclusion trades require cost and encourages us to ignore differences in identities for later in our hard cost of white people in our news outreach society of justice, just bringing those and those who know structural lines not never become a operation. Both suspect based mitigating structure second to make sure around zero consequences. I don't reason more than the computation of the world. Made a legitimized person that's very 14 minutes discussion to the communication with various companies of the other theory doing these types of classes with the actual problem. What probably creates a trouble is the most often confident answer and comparing this accuracy in discussion about computation repression. Third, global just price reduction, quantity focus material rises or correctly, symmetry property quantity means the absence of the price of price by citizens with the active services making rights which basic needs of community extension on the penalized first and kind of so like less reaction rate move poverty field that very most against severe poverty capital community continue to spread like more and more value for no action which seems for states that associate arguing from potential over the team future become the like and personal potential risk for regulating for parts of the commission prohibition of parts private action not using action you can authorize and not do action becomes considered becoming form of the principal action not fully discouraged part as the interview for reasonable option dropping urban team the judge choose reasonability rather than present thinking of after got negative since he has equal access often no abuse construction action about the same aid multiple legitimate interpretation of the top of the afternoons around with no laws points strategy choose between use and terms and negative can always be teaching the public history for understanding graphs and trusting internally to semantics is the only way that we interpret resolution in different ways encourages education and finding different interpretations of topics and shepherd social justice for scale of mass violence and crime, society for criminal violence, and shepherd use for technical violence and everyday life, since we're attempting inequality, disguise, and violence, since our stars ourselves in primitive recognition, projects that are practices and acting for behavior being hyper village violence and order brand genocide, lack of possible restoration, social disease, lies, the formation of controlling violence and collective trial mass violence and part of a continuum and skip to provide abstract question is useless space, seek, design, comfort, alternate by 12. If we endorse CBT or kids of word, therefore reject all the worst form of distraction, which will think of dance, space, motor, activity, facing question, social transmission of peace, right, but we face the opportunity after this amount of teaching and covers revolutionary straight fringes out. Should be not drive more people to reading ideology and never make concrete proposals. In particular, is the best that's price 98 right. The small teachers claims rise the possible interpretation of logical things or association to essentially contradict critical view. They do not research that best teachers claims creating relation between obvious to the other interaction with the so it's not for close faulty. And cross-sex checks theory interpretations. Solves the theory debate, don't want to have one. Think an educational debate is probably better. Negative should check theory terms in cross-sex. Affirmative can choose to comply. Conflict. If you waste speech time in the next speech that answers back your CX checks doesn't solve arguments because you wasted time saying why it didn't solve. Ready for cross-sex? Yeah.
Okay, so let's talk about this third term justification.
Sure.
Explain the warrant behind it.
For the Okereke argument?
Correct.
Sure. So Okereke draws on multiple different arguments. So first, Okereke starts with the default assumption that justice should be the equality of beings, and that no ethical theory should start without those assumptions, because otherwise it justifies prioritizing one group over another. They then go on to talk about how this creates a demand on the state to create equality for those different types of things, which is building on the assumptions made in the Sunstein card that there is no active distinction. Because if you allow for random suffering, it's a framing argument. This does not justify no active distinction.
Never just let me ask you. So, see, where does that warrant equality in terms of a consequentialist sense, i.e., we have equal outcome?
Sure. So the Okereke argument specifically says that this is dependent on basic needs, like things to right, the food and water, political, social equality. It says the emphasis is on positive rights that require state authorities to provide citizens with the ability to act as political potential as opposed to negative rights, which depend on basic needs.
I'm going to go somewhere else now.
Sure.
Okay, so let's talk about this Leavitt evidence.
Sure.
Where does it say that Japan is currently meeting it? It just says that they've agreed to meet their emission requirements, not that they actually have met.
Sure. So our evidence indicates that Japan is currently meeting its emissions requirements.
Where does it say that?
Sure. So it says that Japan's powerful trading houses have recently been cutting emissions. Powerful trading houses.
That doesn't say it meets it. That just says your evidence just indicates that they've agreed to meet it, not that they have actually met it.
Sure, but sure. Okay, I guess it doesn't say it has met those emissions requirements, but it does say that
it's not a solvency card. Then
it is because it says that powerful trading houses. It's not a solvency card. It's a preempt to the shift.
What? It just says that they've made an agreement. Like, how does that prove that they can solve
a few things. First, it says that powerful trading houses are cutting emissions, not just that they promise. Second, it says that the government has been increasing its use of renewable energy. And third, that Japan is now the third largest solar power user in the world.
Where did it show that that's sufficient to actually overcome things like climate change?
We would argue it's going in that direction, right? It's that renewable energy combining for sustainable energy. Because it's a question of input-output. If renewable energy has the ability to correct for all of Japan's energy, they wouldn't need to shift the coal, which means that it doesn't increase emissions. Because if they cut coal consumption, then it solves.
Sure. Okay, so why is it permissible? Like, why is status quo permissible for workers to be exploited and subject to such horrible conditions?
It's not.
Yeah, but it's good we have to. So the laws have to. Like, is it just because nuclear power plants exist? Is that the reason racism and things exist?
That's not our argument. Our argument is that I think this kind of cruel optimism argument that we can never do change because we don't solve all oppression is a terrible way of framing things.
I don't
the
think
affirmative does not
that doesn't respond to my question.
It solves the Brockman.
Jonas, that's not responding to my question.
Yes, it is, because your question.
My question, I never said that we can't do anything. My question is just how do you address the underlying structural issues that caused this in the first place?
Yes, because we require the government to ban energy use over people, which would spill over to other types.
Before I start, can you just delete what you didn't read?
Sure. Send it in very
Gordius would be the opposite. What? We're gonna start on the overview. You're good to use.
Wait. Oh, we'll never be able to see. Okay. Yeah. Sure.
Okay, good. Async interpretation affirms that then banning nuclear power in 2 or more countries is a plural line. That's a grammar book. Regularly on score plural by adding the letter S isolation within a single country. They depend on only 2 nuclear power C stands versus limits. They exploit that currently expect over approximately 130 countries. It's a question of how they structure divided that such as favors them. Also, they select a future country defense picking the best opportunity to kill saying engagement limits or private change finish or defeat sincere. Even asking that the possible said room for debate 2. The second is ground they kill. The ground is questionable or even can get a link to a war. We decide that the release is really mitigate around any or about international relations becomes a period of relevance. We can discuss the effects of political relation between all the nations which kills engagement vote fairness balance to better debating not unfairness is a procedural and important ranking rule about between the better debater and jurisdiction between fairness education absence of axioms and also further resolution rather than endorsing something else which is jurisdiction the gate seconds that the resolution is not a good thing and drop the data restriction of dropping the last one off time for improving the choosing using PD interpretations when this exercise I don't think it's reasonable having a violent just means that it collapses from PD interpretations PD interpretations debaters how high sense to create raise the bottom creating debaters see how much we can get away with also the question of topic health either agree to either talk about these are such as recently talk also not the definition of support interpretation it's not competitive mind for question the top value of the app and see morality must be grounded in operating truth guide action, otherwise everyone would have different other modes of all different ethical beliefs. Truth exists independently certain things are self-proving. I actual the trying to sides is a different truth between things that are true operate and opposed to things that are true by observation, don't just true by matter of change. For example, it may be the fact that the cat is on that, but we can also conceive of a world in which the cat is not on that. In contrast, we can never conceive of a world in which a trial doesn't have 2 sides and some logic true reject opposed to truth, those are just arbitrary to being not considered or ethical theories and operate truth has to play out. We're asking the result of moral things arbitrary which fails. We then fails to guide action, which means that ethics is trying to use for the fact that 2 plus 2 plus 4 can't speak for truth. Remove has to be true of every validation freedom can be true and leads to contradiction. Angstrom, a maximal truth for then results in contradiction to solve constantly involves into a judgment of a certain evidence of act all person with limitation essentially the freedom of the freedom. Also means affirmation fiction when you will say you must be separately confused for universal law, however, you simply refuse to omit an action and you're not willing anything, and thus same respect and freedom. Impact health. There are 2 types of contradiction. The contradiction to the will and contradiction to the conception. Contradiction to the will contradiction always conceive of the will which is possible. The contradiction in the conception that doesn't exist in this part due to material circumstances. However, it's impossible. It's a case where you have a contradiction, you will be true and self-defeating, and I can have the absence of contradiction will banning nuclear power attempts to have individual banning individual will set banning nuclear power will set individuals have freedom violations which are unable to act on wills of nuclear power is defined by the free dictionary as energy produced from atomic reaction. Means that there's simply nothing constituted about there's nothing constitutively bad about nuclear power. That an advantage in nuclear period has some bad effect. There's no constitutive purpose of nuclear power plant. It's not created to harm people, even if it was just a bad use of it, so bans on such. Shifting away from nuclear power increases nanotech, that's now 13. Japan's latest nanotechnology is subservient to goals to promote innovation. Policy represents the marked shift from Japan's previous policy as nanotechnology environments, separately from other sustainability opportunities for the Fukushima nuclear disaster. Japan's new policy widely written nanotechnology must play an important role in the effort to find a solution to the nation's environmental challenges and challenges in its application of solar power. Nanotechnology is essential for artificial photosynthesis and nanotech leads to great which causes extinction. In terms of case, that's Project 12. Nanotechnology is said to be the Earth's biosphere. The nano could consume plants or animal matter. It could turn the Earth's biosphere into dust. Nanotechnology operates manufacturing systems to plants or animals interfere with cellular functions. Particles are used to solve they can go around worldwide very quickly. Also, they are trying to control by saying that we care about structural pressure. However, that still states that we have to care about some type of consequence, which means that being allowed to actually having to be able to engage in those issues is if you're actually being able to do that. So this has still ways. Starting on the underview of reachability. First points out if I were my interpretation was unequal, the same structure divided around, which means that one justification for reasonability goes away. They also say that there's no Lincoln turn, that there's no Lincoln turnaround, which means that obviously there are other things like just having Lincoln turn, just having Lincoln turnaround interpret for that second. The third point is that if I want to evaluation for mechanism, your adjudication on speaking together. So it's still a prior to an addition. Additionally, they say that there's multiple legit. They also say that they go into the ground line, and since there's multiple legit interests, the first point is that no, that's not the case. When competing interest says that there's one best interest, which means that no, there are not multiple legit interests. There's one legit interest, and that is my interest. The second point is that my interest is disclosed, which means you had no, which means that you did not go in the ground line. You knew going into this round that you were going to violate this interpret and have this theory debate. Not go to the CX extract argument. The first problem with CX extract is that it encourages abuse, encourages debaters to be abusive in the hopes of the neg not checking CX so that they get like 100 offer ways and hope that neg drops one of the threats asked about one of them CX and they get to win. The second one is I disclosed it. Well, is that when you disclose the position? Can I prep for that position? It's unreasonable for you to explain. You change my entire strategy in CX after I've been prepping for that, so that is absolutely absurd. You just create stress structures. You also encourage debaters to read abusive plans and just hope that the negative debate will asking CX because they don't have any prep for it when it actually comes to debate. The third point is norm setting. Is that my interest better for norm setting? Even if I could ask, it's better that you just read it in the first place. That's norm setting in the key interest. Also, this doesn't make sense on T because that argument said you have to spec 2 or more countries. That would mean that they just spec a random country in CX, which wouldn't make any sense given that the plan specific to Japan. Then go to framework. First point is that all the framework is they never justify why we care about consequences. They will assume that we care about consequences. So reject consequences, and consequences are episodically accessible. The first point that induction tells induction that things will always happen in the same in the future. They happen in passive respect. Russian probably know what will happen in the past has happened in the future. Thus, induction is logically placed. The second point is that predictions impossible. Any action can have a double effect that has disastrous consequences. For example, if I see to a butterfly effect that tends to cause my season form to a hurricane kill thousands of people. That consequences that we compare the results of one action with the results of another action never happened in the first place. However, one action the results of this is possible. You know, to get actions been allocated line by line. They say that we have to we can't ignore difference and that we have to try to include people. The first one's that assume consequential some ideas, we include people in a consequential sense. The third one's that the second one's that operate truth solves. It doesn't matter how many people I include. 2 plus 2 will always equal 4. Which means that my framework results. As a 2 plus I complete post with post. Yeah, well the obvious thing that I put small to this debate round is the fourth one's that they don't define what it means to exclude something in the first place. Whereas only my framework includes to ignore it. I think of what it actually means to exclude. Also, I agree that things like racing or guidance questions can be addressed today. This is that you would need consequential sense. Whereas I say that no, you cannot do that. I agree tell me if you do one racist thing to stop 10 other racist things. Now, of the career evidence, this assumes consequentials. It says that if we don't do material consequences, then it just means that if we don't look at material consequences, then if we don't look at material consequences, it produces worse material consequences. Obviously, it still assumes that even if I have these consequences in the first place, they also say that global justice assumes that we have to look at inequality. It assumes that equality in terms of outlet of and takes of things. Also, they say that it means that we can specific concepts of section on the starting point. Yes, that we can agree that having an unequal starting point is bad. However, it's a question of how we rectify that. My argument is that violating to rectify that starting point is incoherent. If you could still apply to limits that you're arguing now, we're talking about no recognition. This is the first point that this is odd just because they're acting just going to be off. You also arguments incoherent, just as governments are complicit with things, but the obvious is that they're acting to proactively endorse that thing. So this is not me, but there's.
You do it.
Yeah. It's just the.
Ready? And disadd. What's the link?
Then
Why?
because stripping away from nuclear power encourages research into things like solar power, which necessitates nanotech for artificial
Okay. That's fine. Why does Japan's nanotech need to bring
because that talk about how nanotech and it goes out and features lives here and causes a whole bunch of bad stuff.
Your Pallado evidence indicates that it is nanotechnology that is being produced for fluid of raw materials, things that have the ability to be fungible and adjust and change shape that leads to things like critical. How does nanotechnology that is invested in energy products like photovoltaic voltaic cells triggered the cassette?
Because it's still the same branch of technology, and that is still technology that has the potential to go out.
This also indicates that it's nanotechnology that can function autonomously. How does a plant that is, how are photovoltaic cells, which are dependent on solar energy from the sun?
Obviously, that's one function. There's they can do other
How
things.
have you proven they're autonomous?
That's what the product evidence would indicate.
Wait, where did the product evidence indicate that solar energy is autonomous?
They go talking about nanotechnology. That's the one.
Nanotechnology is a very big field. There's a reason why there's a college major in it. There are different levels. You have said that there is photovoltaic cells and that there is nanotechnology that can be fluid and autonomous. They are two very different types. Where have you proven an internal link in the middle?
Jonas, the point is that it increases the research being done in that field. Such
Wait,
that
where have you said that there's an increase in research?
that's the link evidence, Jonas.
The
that we
research
just
about
asked
nano. That's fine. We'll move on. So your first, what's the third argument to reject consequentialism? It says that we should compare results of one action with the result of another action that can never happen. What does that mean?
What part of that confuses you, Jonas?
I just don't understand.
You say that we should compare the results of action A to the results of action B. We do action A, we never know what happens because we didn't do B. Guess what? We can't compare consequences.
Wait, that I don't understand why. Does that depend on prediction impossible?
It's not that predictions are impossible, just you don't know the absolute results of your actions.
Wait, we can't guess.
You can guess, but that doesn't normally guide you if you're just guessing as to what is ethically right.
Wait, what? Like, if I know that hitting someone is going to cause them pain, how is it not a prediction?
That is very different than predicting link chain snares and things like that.
Cool. We didn't talk about link chain snare. I'm going to start right. Now. Probably not. I'll send it back. How much time do you take off for sure?
1 week.
Do you like it, don't you?
Yeah,
Edmund gets it.
it's Norman, but
Norman.
post Edmund.
Nah.
Yeah, it's cool, I guess. It's not very big.
Yeah, I was looking to know you because their policy seems pretty.
It is. Lawrence.
Yeah, well, I know Keller's. Yeah, their coach was my lab leader at camp last year.
Yeah, I was gonna do it, and then I decided being in a fraternity was way more fun.
That's not a bad move.
Yeah. hindsight, I probably wouldn't have done it the same, but it was good at the time.
Wouldn't have done this? Sorry.
Frat's pretty worthless after a year and a half of it.
Yeah, I can see that.
Yeah,
I
everybody's
feel like
pretty
the
much
first time you see like a movie about like a frat, you're like, wow, this is really cool, and then you're so yeah, it's like I couldn't imagine partying every day. I don't know. I'm sure Ms. D's and all of our commentary on college.
Yeah.
Nah, they can
I'll probably just
still
edit
cut
it.
this out.
Yeah.
That's good.
So,
Why?
Why should just not go
Well,
into
you should cut through my 1 minute of prep time actually. Make it look like it was a stand-up. I'm kidding. I just want you to know that I'm not stealing prep right now. Well, we should talk about something. I'm really trying to be reasonable here. This is a really unfair.
this is a exceptionally long bathroom break.
Yeah. What if he just like went into another round? Like, watch it, guys. He's like, oh, that Jonas, he's gonna drink. I heard he took a minute of the 1C as prep time. It's true. He's like, I know I'm gonna have at least like 6 minutes. Sorry.
He did this for other rounds too. He just walked out and like talked to people.
No, I heard Chris Mander was judging that. He abandoned his round to get food.
Yep.
For 20 minutes.
I was sitting in
That's right, Bill.
It's a good round.
That's
You missed nothing. Alright, now I'm gonna hit send. Alright, the order is going to be the case, then. Yeah, we're gonna do the case, then we're gonna do the top caddy argument, then we'll do the NC, then dis. So actually, I like it. It'll be case, T, disad, NC.
Where's my computer / doesn't like Excel right now, so when you want case, just make sure you're extending the argument, not
Oh, okay, that's fine. Alright, ready? Everyone good? Okay. They consider the entirety of our PTSD office, which specifically indicates that the existence of nuclear power production whatsoever is tremendously stressful for people who, for everyone in Japan, that's a reason why to return the NC, because it is a reason why consistently nuclear power itself is always going to be violent, which means that it is because they're going to go for this intrinsic case argument of the 1AR, but it doesn't answer our argument because it's just a question of the nuclear power production itself, of the splitting of atoms that is traumatic for people in Japan, which means that takes out their argument on the Rorschach consequentialism of stuff. First of all, their arguments are about long link chain scenarios, which was not the one I see. We will concede that long link chains are not something that we have the ability to predict, but we will see that in the status quo there is oppression in Japan that is not contested, which means that we have the ability to predict things. We don't have to predict things because we can see oppression, which means that upon a question of what happened if we ban nuclear power, it's a question of what is happening now, and is that a bad thing? We cannot predict that the effects of being it's not like we are predicting oppression will go away because they have not contested that in the case made, so you should see 100% absolute because they have not contested those harms. Also, we will make a actually we'll do that in the answer next argument here is that they think about these arguments conflicting not to us because they have drop back exclusion. People said the Curry argument that limitations would resolve material consequences. They said it doesn't, but our argument specifically insisting like libertarian notions are bad because they allow for unlimited material inequality. That was our open evidence argument specifically in things like justice officer from the starting point of equality because otherwise they unequally prior argument starting point. On the other, you say that your NC resolves that because the question starting point. No, it freaking doesn't. Your argument is that we literally don't have to care, but argument is specifically about how it has to be focused on positive rights and proactively give things to people who do not have them in the status quo, which means that's all. We'll continue competing against on T. Counter-interpretation of the affirmative has the ability, the affirmative can defend only one country. We need reasons to prefer. Reasons to prefer is because of plans resolvability. The affirmative, the negative. If we read two different countries, the affirmative can be the negative. We just have one of the other countries receives really bad analysis, especially if all of our offense. If one country takes out their top version, the average second. Reason to prefer is pick out of the negative. If we read more than one country, the negative can pick out of one of the countries or pick out and have the ability to pick out of a negative reactor, which means that is usually bad against the affirmative because if all of our offense is about one of the countries, they can pick out one of them. Or if even if it's about two of the different countries, they can read even from one of them and pick out the other, which is uniquely bad for the affirmative. Don't let them say you can read picks bad theory because that doesn't solve our offense if the interpretation justifies it. Specifically, that's something that's bad. Also, just as if your interpretation does not solve, you say limits underneath
countries, your interpretation did not bear plural. It's two or more countries, which means that you can still defend any two random countries around the world, which means your interpretation leads to more different form. This goes into 180 factorial, which means that seems that your argument. Also, you did not read a grammar argument, which means that you cannot go for textuality first in the 1 year, because that was not a reason to prefer your interpretation. You just said topical basis, even if they go for semantic fear, semantically, topical because we are an instance of the resolution, which you should prioritize as something that being able to topic good resolution should set the bounds of the topic, and the affirmative really has to be inside of it. Next, your second argument is about ground, crossed by the limits here, controls the internal ground, controls the internal link to ground, your interpretation not to offer ground, but also we say topical, certain ground things like disclosure, and that is the plank of the wiki, the affirmative can define one plank if they disclose on the wiki, so also your interpretation, because we had to disclose on the wiki, also Loyola's reading this app, and I also know that other people are reading this app, which means that it was something that you could have predicted sufficiently able to stop back for your offense, and yeah, that's fine. DA. This is as ridiculous. It should have already happened because Japan already banned nuclear power. Their evidence is indicative of this. It says that when they banned nuclear power, when they shut down all nuclear plants, it led to an investment in nanotechnology, which means the diss has already been triggered, but also no great research for itself, and which means detection easily by two. Next research about nanotechnology, started about sophisticated research even self-confident nanobots, where it was given thing with these substitutes for them before, and it's happening to immediately take by the waste heat of defense special was also no link that was cross-examination. Two different types of nanotechnology. Say if an increase in research, but investments in defense, that research should have already happened, which means it's not sufficient itself, but also photovoltaic cells are not autonomous. They have not proven that. That was their extra link to nanotech. Next on the NC cross-play. We did a lot of this work on the affirmative. You should do embedded clash rules because we do a lot of that way on the affirmative, but we will extend here as the framework hijack argument because we have to start from universal ethics. And we will say that the current evidence is a better starting point for universal ethics because it says that every person should be met with basic needs, and you can see that people are not being met with basic needs in Japan. That was our document evidence, but also we will make a modesty argument here. 100% of our offenses being conceded things like the threat of a nuclear threat are enough to be able to justify things like pollution are bad, and that was conceded. And those things are constituent of nuclear power development.
What is going to be T and C? We'll go to the justifications.
T.
So yeah, starting on T.
Are there new cards?
Are you going just T?
No, we're gonna. Well, we'll see. We're probably gonna do it again soon.
Okay.
Okay. And then we'll address the process for it.
Everyone good?
Okay.
Over to the T debate. Jonas uncovers a lot of arguments in the voter section that are going to make it so there's no way it's possible for him to win on the T debate. The first point is that you can see the jurisdiction argument that it doesn't matter whether your interview is more fair or more educational. You just have to go for the resolution. If I win that your app is not the resolution, then that means that you cannot affirm the resolution because when you vote app, you're not affirming the resolution, you're affirming something else. You also can see that is a reason why you negate because that would concede why the resolution is not a good thing. Instead, we should do something else, i.e. the negative, which means that all of the apps offense for me at this point 100% concession. You don't give them any leeway here. They also concede that this was the last argument that you showed. They concede that they have to have a carded counter in order for their interview to be competitive. Otherwise, they're just asserting an interpretation of the topics but with no definition to back it up, which means that they don't have a competitive interpretation at this point. 100% concession here means that there's no way they can possibly access any offense because they don't even have a counter interp at this point, and you cannot vote for them under competing interps if they don't even have a competitive counter interp. Go to the interp. They functionally concede the ground argument that it's questionable whether you're going to get links to more things like warning dispatch or arguments you're going to talk about the international relations between countries. They just say that I could have predicted. However, my argument's not that I don't know what you're going to read. It's not that when you are reading qualitatively skews the ground that I have. So I can predict that you are going to read this out 100 times. However, that does not solve for anything because it's a question of how you have structurally skewed this ground such that it makes it much harder for me to negate against this. Given that that's their only piece of mitigation against this, it means I'm pretty clearly winning this argument. They will now go to the counter-trick offense. Their offense on the counter-interpretation is they can really decide if they have more countries. However, they don't have the impact of value to negatively decide to one of the countries. In fact, that's good because that means that the neg has a better chance to engage that. In fact that you can see my ground argument in half turns, it is good that the neg gets to read that this out. Otherwise, they have to prep for every single one country, whereas they defend at least 2 countries, and then it's much more likely that they are going to have prep that can engage with your app. They also say that they means that they don't get to talk about the app, or they don't have any discourse implications. I did that. They don't really well now. They don't have any reasons why this app is good for discussion. They just read that it is good for structural oppression. However, nor do they read why this app necessarily have to read this app. They also say that it means that they never read a pick against it. However, that's not a reason why. That's obviously not a reason why you should go remind. That's not obviously not a reason why you should prefer mine. That's obviously not a reason why you should prefer their interpretation. You should read if they read a pick against you. They say that doesn't solve because my interpretation doesn't justify that. However, obviously my interpretation does not justify everything that is ever abusive ever. My also doesn't say you can't read a priori. However, obviously that doesn't mean that I think it's okay to do that. And that means that just because I read this interpretation doesn't mean that I think it's okay for you to read a pick. Additionally, the arguments on unique. They can also read picks against this app, i.e., if you read a Thorian pick, a reactor, if you read a pick out, you wouldn't have to Japan, which means that their argument is absolutely absurd that they can actually solve picks at the very least. This argument has barely any offense, and you should be voting on the ground argument. They also say that the limits argument. The first one's I'm not going to go for limits because they concede the ground, and they concede the ground argument that ground just give you actually something engaging after the first place, which that's superiority. It doesn't matter what the limits are because you can have as narrow as limits as you want. If I don't have the qualitative ground to engage in, then that doesn't matter which one's at my ground. Argument comes first. They also, but even if you think they are winning it, they're only arguing against limits that it links more countries because you get any permutation of it. However, if I have perhaps one country and you're defending 2 countries, then it's more likely that just in terms of strict probability, it is more likely that my preference will respond to that because you have 2 countries, which means that in terms of like straight up probability, it is 2 times more likely that my preference will engage in the app. So it's not a question of the permutations of the amount of it. As long as my preference responds to at least 1 country, that means I can get also takes out the response to that I can just read it this out of any other country. So very clear. Conceded jurisdiction, conceded counter. It doesn't matter if you're there for fair or educational. Jurisdiction is going straight on the judge. At the end of the day, you have to come to the resolution. I'm wondering why the app is not the resolution. Very quickly, just for the sake of tediousness, you can extend the grammar book definition that regular nouns are plurals by adding letters to the S, which means that that also takes up the argument that they are an instance of the resolution. They are not an instance of the resolution because the resolution is plural. They are one. They are not an instance of the resolution. It's that simple. Then go to NC. Their argument on the NC is pretty bad. They just say you should evaluate embedded clash and about use Curry as the starting point. First point is that they conceded this might be on the app where you floated, but they conceded that Curry assumes consequentialism. It says that if we do not use it, if we start from ideal theory, or if we do not evaluate the consequences of our action, it leads to worse consequences. Obviously, that assumes that we can evaluate consequences in the first place. They've also conceded the argument in the NC that says that they've also conceded the argument in the NC that arbitrary or that you should reject arbitrary because arbitrary are just arbitrary seats of big without constituent replicable theories, which takes out Curry's talking things that we observe in the world. Those things might be bad, but however, obviously that's not the case in which it's constituent replicable theories. They've also conceded that morality has to be just operate bad action. Otherwise, everyone have different rules. We've also conceded that truth has to be universal, and after which means that universal because truth has to apply to everyone. For example, you cannot just say that 2 plus 2 was 4 for moving on. For Jonas, it has to apply to for everyone. That was the ancient part of the willing evaluation can't be universal. Now, this is where it gets clear. Now, they conceded weighing arguments, and you see that take out the turn. So first point is that they conceded the act omission distinction. That when you will that the AC is they conceded the act omission distinction, which means that the AC or the NC is no omission. I'm not doing anything. I'm not doing anything, which means that they cannot. Which means that their turns don't apply because the NC is omitting to take an action, which means that the turns incoherent. They've also conceded the impact calculus. There's a contradiction in will and contradiction in conception. Their turn is a contradiction in conception, i.e., it is brought about due to material circumstances. However, you can conceive the world in which nuclear power does not cause people to become depressed and stuff like that, which means that the AC is a contradiction in the will, which necessarily comes first. That also means that I can agree that, yes, maybe on a personal level, it might be bad to build a nuclear power plant. However, that does not justify you banning and violating someone else's freedom. That's the difference between a perfect duty and a perfect duty, which is the different, which they concede. They also concede that there's nothing intrinsic to nuclear power that would necessitate banning it. And even if there is a bad use of it, even if it harms people, let's say bad use of it, they're not constitutive. Now, quickly on the AC, their only offense that takes from the AC was Korea, but I've already addressed that. They've also conceded that induction argument that induction fails because as soon as that things will happen, if you try to say happen in the past, however, obviously that the circular argument 100 is in session. They say they don't have a link chain. However, this isn't about link chains. It's about evaluating anything from inductive reasoning, which is the app.
Okay. We have 350.
Cool if I get water.
No.
What? Are you eating risk factors? Absolutely. Fucking people.
Yeah.
All right. The order?
Yeah.
Is going to be T. going to be okay, sorry. It's going to be case that this sorry, not this. Case the NCT. Ready? Substance Spain is released, and they consider the modesty framing out of the 1 year that you consider 100% of the offense coming out of the affirmative case, which means that any defense against the negative case is 100% vote for the affirmative. If you even think that this turn is possible, that is enough to vote out because all of our offense out of the 1 EC was conceded. You can accept the link turn argument, which was specifically that PTSD is something that inherently is viewed as why nuclear power is violent. They said that you can imagine depression. This is a terrible way to frame this argument. But very specific that everyone in Japan is against nuclear power. That psychological violence. Your framing of disability as depression is insulting, and personally, they should probably lose the substance pain. Meaning you can even drop them if you think that their framing of disability is something that is merely a depression or something that you just suffer from on the weekend when you had a bad day. It's something that I would think it was appalling if you endorse a world in which we have nuclear power, because we can imagine that things don't matter. That is bad. That is exactly criticized. That we have to focus on material consequences. You can see the framing that we have to focus on things like cost rights first, because negative rights allow for unlimited material inequality, which is something that's bad, which means that it justifies consequences with your obvious specifically, but you can tell the modesty framework is probably sufficient to be able to take that out. On the inductive for using themselves, they say that it's not change specific. Look at their arguments, it's very specifically like one thing change, like me dropping a pen, and they do extension, but arguments that if we can see oppression is happening in the status quo, and the affirmatives, they shift away from the material inequalities, and that would be a reason why this bad is not necessarily a shift that is something that's wrong. It's just why you've also considered the other turn argument, which was that things like nuclear, that you consider that something that is that there's something that is consistent with nuclear power is pollution, because if we're to split atoms or some pollution that is radiated, which you consider is a reason why nuclear power is always bad in the first place. And the modesty framing, vote on substance. T. Here's the problem: if we win the instance of the resolution argument, it's focusing on I mean. You obviously don't need to win. You don't need to win a carded counter-interpretation if we are winning an I mean argument to their interpretation, which means as long as we feed back their answers to the instance arguments, then you can vote for us. Except that the affirmative can be an instance of the resolution, which is an I mean argument. Because yes, you have said that the resolution is plural, but the argument is that we are consistent with that interpretation. Just think about it. If you have the sentence chihuahuas are, if you have the sentence dogs are behaving, and you pointed to a single dog and said that chihuahua is behaving, that would be an instance of the dogs that are behaving, which means that our interpretation is radically consistent, which means that functionally this is a terminal defense to their semantics arguments, because if that way they're in this jurisdiction, but if they're still, even if you are slightly doubting that there's any chance that they are not 100% semantically correct, then you should abide with the pragmatic offense, which means it's really easy to vote for us. Extend the factorial argument the limits to be that their interpretation instantly explodes the topic because it's 180 factorial. Then the concession of that the concession of the limits controls the interpretative ground argument means that we definitely win the pragmatics, because if there were infinite affirmatives and infinite combinations of countries, then that would make it harder for the negative to be able to prep and have defense, which means that even if there's a question of whether or not the negative dissent will be able to link to the affirmative, at least at that is better than a world in which the negative never has any links to link to the affirmative. But next of all, so that's sufficient. So then the other argument is they conceded that their interpretation is not grammatically consistent because their interpretation, the resolution has to be a bare plural, which means that it's even their interpretation. But it's very simple. Oh, also extend the Pix argument. That's bad. That's obvious for interpretation. They said you can be theory against it. Argument was that if their interpretation justifies it and ours solves it, that would be good. Very simple. Instance the resolution solved. We win the pragmatic state, so this is the interlink. What's your answer? Go ahead.